Hey, admin staff, welcome to part two of the monitoring teacher activity in Google Classroom for admin staff. In this section, we're going to talk about student attendance. And when we talk about student attendance, we need to make sure that we understand the differentiation between attendance and participation. For the purposes of this spring's distance learning, attendance is this student logged in and able to access the digital class? Moving forward, after the first week of education, that definition may change to is this student logging in and accessing the class on a regular basis? But we'll use student activity and participation to identify whether that's happening. Initial student attendance, which Dr. Gorman is extremely concerned with, to make sure that we support our families and students in terms of equity and access, is pretty easily identifiable in Google Classroom. Once again, we've got our Google Chrome browser open here on the screen. We've navigated to Google Classroom. We've made sure that we're logged on to the Google Chrome browser with our @students.grps.org address. And we're seeing a list of classes here. Presumably, your teachers will have added you to their classes per our direction. And hopefully they have followed our recommended naming conventions for classes. We understand that some teachers may have already created Google Classroom classes and have been using them through the course of the year and have named them something different. We understand that maybe you as a building principal have already implemented some sort of naming convention for your building. If the second thing is the case, if you're a building principal and all of your teachers are on board and they're all using a naming convention already for their classrooms and they're sharing their classrooms with you, then you don't need to change the naming conventions. The reason we make these suggestions, here looking at the Hastings second hour class, is so when you have several staff members sharing 5 classes per staff member with you, you can easily sort through the large colored squares in the classes on your screen from an administrator standpoint to get to where you need to go as you're monitoring your staff and you're visiting virtual classrooms. Again, the recommendations that we made to staff were to name their classes the teacher last name hyphen whatever hour it is. So in this case, Hastings second hour. And then on the second line here, the grade level, the subject, and of course, spring 2020. This is going to allow both the teacher and you to identify the class quickly, and it'll allow the teacher to identify the course again in the future, even after it's archived as we move forward and do blended learning and hopefully not long-term distance learning in the fall, but to access all the work that they've done this spring and reuse it in the future very easily by identifying their class. Once you get invited to several classes by teachers, you can organize these. You can drag and drop and move them around however you'd like. If you want all one teachers across one row or vertical, however your brain works, you can organize them the way it works best for you. Again, strongly recommend utilizing those naming conventions because as you look through this, if you just had a bunch of classes that say 5th hour, 7th grade or 1st hour, 7th grade, you don't know what teachers these are, right? And so that's important. You will get a name here and an icon with a class that you are a student in. But if you're a teacher, you will not see the co-teachers' names. I'm a co-teacher in this class. I'm a student in this class. So it's very important that as a co-teacher, you have your teachers name it so you can see whose room is what. With that said, let's take a look at how to quickly identify in classes what students have logged in and have digital access and have checked into that class. We're going to go into a class where I have some active students. When you go into a Google Classroom, there are 4 tabs across the top that the classroom deals with. The first one is the stream, which is considered like an announcements page or a timeline. The second one is classwork. We'll refer back to this one. This is where your teachers are going to put all of their information, their lessons, and the work that the students are going to do. The third one is what we're going to look at for attendance. If you are on a mission just to see what students are logging in that first week that we launch online learning, this is where you're going to want to pop into each class and you're going to want to click the People tab. Under the People tab, you can see that there's co-teachers, which in this case, myself, my building administrator at the time, my parapro. But then there are students down here that as a teacher, I have invited into my class. And you'll notice that there's very distinctly two different types here. There's a nice dark non-grayed out version with the invite guardians and a little menu icon here. These are students that have accepted the invitation or typed in the classroom code, meaning they've got digital access somehow at home. They've got a device, they've gotten a district device, they've got internet, they've gone somewhere where there's internet, and they have logged in successfully to this teacher's classroom. These 3 grayed out students are not in the classroom. They have not logged in. They have not typed in a classroom code. They have not accepted an email invite. And these students are the students that you're going to want to highlight in the first couple days or weeks in terms of making sure that they are able to, from an equity standpoint, access the internet, whether they have devices at home or internet access at home or whatever the case may be. These are going to be your kids during those first few weeks that you're going to want to focus on. And this is how you're going to find them. Hey, as always, if you have any questions about anything that we talk about in any of these modules, helpdeskinfo.grps.org has some great articles, dozens of topics for you to do some self-guided learning. Help Desk is open via email and via the phone extension. And then we've got a distance learning support line that we've set up that's starting on April 16th, which is Thursday. Dial 819-7960 and we can give you distance learning support. And as always, the instructional technology team and a lot of support is available via Microsoft Teams. Head on in there and reach out to us, and we'll be happy to get back to you as quick as we can. Best of luck.